So I never used to be any kind of a believer of having to do some kind of a plant flush. And then this tree came along. My wife bought a citrus tree, and I don't know the first thing about growing citrus. I've grown a lot of other things in my life. Citrus trees are never one of them. We're in a zone 4 area, so this just isn't something that we can do outside. Anyway, I finally got new growth on this thing. You can see all the light green leaves started, and I think there's actually a flower or a couple of flowers started as well. But this plant was just losing leaves constantly when we bought this thing. You can actually see at the bottom of the pot, there is just a ton of leaves that just were dropping and dropping. It just wouldn't quit. So I was just totally thinking, this thing is just not going to quit. It's just going to keep going until it totally dies off. And that kind of sucks. I kind of got a green thumb. So when a plant is dying on me, I'm not too pleased about it. So anyway, the reason why I figured I should flush this thing is because it was dropping leaves, but it's like the oldest growth was kind of getting burnt or something. So here's what I decided to do, and at least it lets me know I'm on the right track. This tree still needs a ton of help to get it going, but at least it's at the point now where there's a bunch of new buds all over on the stalks. You can see them starting out, and I don't know how much is going to come out in the video, but there's new growth popping out all over the place. So I'm doing something at least right at this point. Here's what I did. So here's this tree beforehand, and at first glance, it looks like it's probably in better shape then than it is now. The only thing is, it's every day, it's dropping like 4 or 5 leaves. It's just not stopping. And it's happening over this entire plant. So what I did is I put it on top of a 5-gallon bucket, and I just kept flooding it with reverse osmosis water. And after I put a gallon through and a gallon kind of flowed through to the bottom, actually I had to put about 2.5 gallons through before I got a gallon at the bottom. I measured the EC or the ppm, whatever you want to call it, of the solution that was coming out of the bottom. And it blew my mind. The first gallon of water that came through the bottom was at 4,500 parts per million. Now, I didn't fertilize this tree. We just bought this thing, put it in a pot. So I don't know if it got some fertilizer dumped on it or whatever, but that's like a lot or way too much. I'm thinking there was also some nutrient lockout, and that possibly is my fault from using chlorinated tap water. So I ended up flushing several gallons through, and every time a gallon of water would end up in the bottom of the 5-gallon pail, I measured the ppm or the EC, and I kept going till it was down to about 0.5 EC. And once I had the water at that, then I just put it out, set it out, and we went on a trip. So this was done about a month ago. Now, because I thought I was partially to blame for this thing, this wasn't the only plant that I did. The pineapple that I have growing in the grow room, and I've got a banana tree in there as well, I did the same to both of those as well. And you can see the EC wasn't too bad in there. I think that's well within range. I've never done a flush before, so experts out there, feel free to chime in the comments. Or people growing citrus trees, if you have some tips for me and you see what's going on here, I'm more than happy to take any tips. But the banana tree was doing the same thing. It was losing all the old growth on the bottom and pretty alarmingly quickly. So after the flush, the banana tree, the leaves are healthier all around the outside. You can see there, this is the before of what this tree kind of looked like before. Here's the after after the flush was done, and I'm just gone back to my regular nutrient solution watering. It's about 1.5 EC is the nutrient solution it's getting in the top, and it's RO water. I'm not using any tap water anywhere in my grow. I'm just done with having problems with it. I also had a pineapple plant that was getting these burnt tips like everywhere on the leaves, and I think it was burnt tips. I don't think it was deficiency because it was kind of uniformly happening on everything. So I did the same thing with a pineapple plant. I flushed everything that was in soil. So the downside to soil is if you have a problem with it, you got to flush everything out to kind of get back to ground zero. Whereas in my Dutch bucket setup, I mean, I just dump the reservoir, change the reservoir, and it's done. So anyway, this was the before of the pineapple. Here's the after. All the growth that's kind of was dying off, that's all quit. But it's made a difference. There was something going on. Maybe it was just the chlorine buildup or salt buildup. I'm not sure. All the plants seem to have benefited from this that were in, and I shouldn't say soil either. This isn't soil. This is like a coco coir mix. All of the plants seems to have benefited as soon as I flushed. With the exception of the citrus tree. The citrus tree got nothing but RO water, so it was flushed, and I just put it in there or put it back in my grow. Did not touch it anymore. Left it alone. I did give it a dose of Mykos actually as well, in the form of Great White for those of you that are curious. The other plants I immediately watered after they were flushed with the same hydroponic solution, about 1.5 EC of the master blend mixed. Went into the top right away, and I just put them out. We went on holidays, we came back, and this is now a month later. All three seem to have benefited. The before and afters, they're all here. You guys can make your own judgment call. You've seen EC before, the flush, after the flush. On most of them, I missed the first one on the citrus, but I think there's a benefit to this. What do you guys think?